teach art and technology both. In Lincoln Public Schools, some schools have technology teachers, some schools have just art teachers. There's about 5 of us that teach art and technology. So I'm going to go through a good way to have technology. You and your technology specialist have a great working relationship and collaborate whenever possible. It's better if you have access to a computer lab where you can do your own integration. And it's best if you will wear both hats, whatever your curriculum is, and bring technology into it. Why would you ask someone to wear both hats? There's several reasons. A lot of it is staffing issues. We had enough points that we could either have cut one of the programs or combined it. As an art educator, we're good at integrating with the regular classroom all the time anyway, and both ways teach spatial learning, which is more of a visual learning than anything else. And mostly technology is a tool, it's not a subject. How can you bring technology in? So art and technology together, how do these two fit? Amy is one of the other people that does art and tech, and she said she talks about it more of the tool. Bob's main thing is he likes to think of it as teaching to both sides of the brain, because technology is more mainly focused on one side while art is mainly focused on the other. And so doing both together, you have a full brain development. I like to integrate with presentations, teacher or student-led, project-based, student-centered, hands-on assessment, videos, iPads, web-based learning, and sharing final works. I find students love technology, so I use that to my advantage. I film almost all of my how-to lessons. It gives me an opportunity to make sure nothing's forgotten. Students who are gone for one reason or another can sit down and watch the video and be totally caught up. The examples are nice and big. Student work improved drastically after they could really see it. And not to mention I have a few minutes to get supplies set up and get things out. And I can keep an eye on behaviors rather than having my back to them as I'm doing the example. But this is one of the projects I do at 4th grade, where first we go through a presentation. We talk about what does pictures look like, and we just say, what do you see? What's different? What's similar? And we go through that. Then I go through an entire example. My goal is to always make it less than 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, kids lose focus and they will not pay attention. You can get anything done for a 50-minute time period in less than 7 minutes. So this one talks about how Modigliani's portraits are long and skinny. We talk about how we always start with pencil first, doing it on the top half of the page. So I focus on a concept that I'm using in the art room as well as what I do in the computer lab. Whatever I'm focused on in the art room is what I'm going to do in the computer lab. So 3rd and 4th grade, we do portraits before we get to the Modigliani that I just showed. We talk about proportions and where it is. So here's my examples. For a pre-test, and then after we do the project. There's a pre-test, there's a pre-test, there's a pre-test. Then we learn about everything, we do this project, then we go back into the lab and do the post-test. The post-test and the post-test. This kid is a very high-needs special ed kid, and going from here to here, she felt like the biggest success, which was awesome. Then after we get this done, we go back into the lab one more time, and they write out their name with adjectives that describe them. All of this stuff is on the site that you got those little cards so you can scan them. After we're done in 4th grade with the portrait unit, we talk about the screen. We talk about what do they see. We talk about the difference between a painting and a print. Then we talk about how different artists have taken that and made it their own, and how then the students get to take it and make it their own. So they get to take 3 pictures in the art room of different scary faces. Then we go into the computer lab. They get to go through and pick out their favorite one, and they erase the background. They make it look more like the painting, talking about how different backgrounds might look different ways. They pick their background, and they add themselves on, and then we hang them up. 2nd grade, I do a project with Picasso. So we do an art project where we do a mask. And then we also go to Mr. Picasso Head, which is a great program that they really get to, and then we do this before we do the project so they can explore all these different kinds of crazy faces. Another project we do is in 1st grade, they do a big African lesson. So we make boho lafini, And it goes through the whole steps. It goes through, they learn about the artist, they learn about a designer, they learn about a painter, and then they make their own boat lucky. After we print it out, we tear the edges, we soak it and dye it in tea, and then we add words around the borders of all the different things that they've learned in their classroom. Our school has had a big focus on bullying, and so we've all had to come up with projects to do where we can go back to what's a heroic act, what are villainous acts. And one that I do with them is they start off with the counselor talking about what are virtues, what are positive traits, what are negative traits. Then they come into me, we work on logos, and then we fill out this paperwork. And then we go into the lab, we take new pictures of them, and they have to come up with all the information about their heroes and their villains. And then they design their costumes, they design their backgrounds. This is a project that lasts almost 15 weeks. Another thing I'm doing now is assessment. The librarian at my school and I are working on scan codes. So every time 4th and 5th graders finish a project, we're going to hang it up with their scan code next to it. And anybody that comes to our carnivals and comes to after school things can get their phone out and scan their code and listen to what the artist says about their piece of work. Another way I do assessment is they videotape themselves. When I only have 50-minute classes and I have 35 kids in a class, it's really hard to get a really good assessment from them. So I've started videotaping. I just set a camera out in the hall. 1 or 2 kids can be out there at a time to film each other, or they can film themselves. And I'll have 3 or 4 questions listed. They'll always have some of the same things, where what's your favorite part, what would you do differently, a few things like that. And they film it, and I learn so much more about their art than I could ever learn talking to them in class. A few more ideas. I do a lot on YouTube. I do a lot with The Lion King and Julie Taymor as the artist when we do a math project. With surrealism, we'll get on Mad Libs. I make sure they're kid friendly. And whatever their Mad Lib is, that's what they have to paint for their surreal idea. And museums have tons of things to offer that are really exciting for the kids to get into and mess around with. And then the Wacky Web Tales is simple. The one thing I'll say that I do is I want to enhance their learning, but we will write out a list of nouns and adverbs and adjectives and everything like that on the board, because yes, I want to help them relearn it, but I don't want that to be the focus for them. I want the focus to be to come up with a crazy story. So we'll have already done all of the, let's write out some ideas, let's write out ideas, let's write out ideas. And then when they get to their story, they can really focus on how to make it super crazy. And then Destination Modern Art is one that kids love. They get to go and explore all these different paintings. And of course, when we're focusing on a specific artist, they'll go in and they'll get to figure it out. And they can go into 6 different areas where there's one that they talk about the art, they talk about the artist, they talk about how to write something up, how to do a collage, and then they have interactive things. It's a really awesome site. And I like to get in a lot of other things into the classroom. So I have a few days that kids have to earn as their special day that they've earned for good behavior, where they can work on computers, iPads, iPods, computers with drawing pads, and a few other things that are technology based. And we go in rotations. So a few different apps that I like to use. I like to use Reflection. A reflection is when I can show my iPod on the computer, and I have lots of stories and things that I'll show you in a minute, that I can have the kids sit down and they can do some things in front of other kids, or I'll show them a few different things. Hippo Light is what I'm using right now, where my iPad can be used as a remote to run the computer, totally free. There's lots of books, artists, drawing projects, a whole bunch of different things that you can use that can work with the kids, not to mention all the apps for teachers to stay organized. So a couple of my favorite apps are Play Art. It's one that the kids can learn about an artist in a 3-minute video. They can do art projects. They can do a couple other things. Google Art is amazing. Some of my favorite teaching ones are the Too Loud. If it starts to get loud, I'll just turn my projector on and I'll pop that open. And if they see that it's going high, they know that they need to get quieter or they won't be talking at all. The Pick Me application is really good. As a teacher, you're going to normally call on those same 4 kids that raise their hand all the time. And it's like, I got to get past those 4 kids. This one is fun because they know that if they're not paying attention and I call on their name, they're not going to know what to do. So whenever I have questions up, I'll pull this up. And the nice thing is it'll pull a random kid's name up, and it gives you the opportunity to put Did they get it right or wrong? Which is really nice for assessment. The top left artist one is the one that I was talking about, how there's the 6 artists in it. You can pick out which one you want. It'll talk about the artist, it'll talk about their artwork, and then you get to create a painting in their style. The one up below that is Google Art, which has connections to hundreds of art galleries. And then I personally do tons of books in my classroom, and all of these books are pretty amazing. So definitely get that involved. I think my favorite one is the pigeon one. We do a lot of pigeons in kindergarten. And this is an app that they actually, you can go through and the kids get to pick how the story goes. And so what we'll do is we'll have one table habit at a time, and they get to go through, pick what they want, and then as we're still working on our penguins on our own, we'll keep showing their video to everybody else. And it's a great way to keep introducing his drawings and have the kids have that interaction. I also do lots of art showcases. If you take pictures of kids, their behavior dramatically improves, and they know that they will not be getting a picture taken of them if they're not on task. I capture the student artwork in process as well as the final product, and then I can send it home earlier because I have a photo of it. Sometimes I'll play these during their lunchtime. Sometimes I'll play it during art time. Sometimes when they have their fun celebrations on Fridays, their teachers will ask for these to be shown then. But I think all the processors are important. I'll show the kids working, then I'll show their actual work, and then I'll show the final project. So you saw the kids, now you see what they're actually doing. And as soon as I get my camera out, there's always a few students that I know their work is going to greatly improve because they know that they're going to have it on the screen for other people to see. And we're about to see the finals. And then there's the finals. Another thing I do is I do Artsonia, which is where anybody in the entire world can go into the website and see their art. They know that their art's going to be up there for grandparents and family members and everybody to see. And that helps improve art. All right, hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you.